It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Mike Goldstein. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hey, Douglas. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on. Nice to have you here. I was intrigued by your bio. My producer does all the bookings, so I don't have much of a hand in them. I book some people myself who are friends or, associates and things, but he takes care of most of it. And he sent this one through, and I had a chuckle because it said a dating coach, which looking at your video that we just saw, I'm going to guess that I'm considerably older than you. And I haven't dated I've been married for 15 years, and we were going out 5 years before that. So I'm not even of the dating app age. When I was dating, you had to go to a bar or something to find people, or the supermarket. There really wasn't anything wonderful online. But that's not what you're doing, right? This is not an app. You're actually coaching people one-on-one on how to date?
Yeah, I coach people one-on-one, and funny enough, most of my clients are over 60, so I'm very accustomed to working with those folks.
Well, okay, that's good. That's encouraging, because I think I'm 62, and people in my age group have a real aversion to dating apps. I don't know anybody in my age group who's single who even wants to use one, and I think maybe what you're doing is a better, although I can't quite figure out what it is you're doing. You'll have to explain it. But, we still like the idea of meeting people in person, because with the dating app, you've got this sort of wall/filter between you and the actual person. And let's face it, there's been a lot of, what's it called? Catfishing, where people put up a beautiful photo of somebody that doesn't resemble them in the least. And, vice versa. So what exactly are you doing? I'm curious. Tell us your story.
So I'm with you. Online dating kind of stinks. And if you talk to anyone 20 to 80, almost everyone hates it. If I took a poll, and I have, pretty much 95% of people don't like online dating, but it works. 1 out of 3 marriages is coming from online dating. So what am I doing is I want to get people in person off these sites and doing fun things like going on dates and falling in love. So I built the most efficient system in the world over the last 15 years or so that just gets people off sites, meeting people that make sense for them. And so they go on less of the wrong dates, more of the right dates, and just do the fun stuff of actually falling in love. So that's what I do.
You're a matchmaking service?
No, I optimize online dating. I've been partnered with Match, OkCupid, and eHarmony for over a decade with access to their analytics. And so I've been using millions of analytics to show people how to optimize online dating so they go on less dates and just have more fun and fall in love faster.
Okay, give me an example. How do you mean optimize your profile or optimize who you pick, or what do you mean?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we're going to get their profile written as well as we can. We're going to go to a professional photographer. But my big thing is I have a sales background. So I show them a system called 50-12-1, which is we're going to basically ask 50 guys on a date. And we've been doing this for so long, we know approximately 12 are going to say yes. And then from 12, we're going to pick one. And then we're going to repeat that system 6 to 8 times. And usually we're able to find someone we like by going through that amount of people. Does that make sense?
Sort of. Okay, let me say, okay, I'm a client, all right?
Mm-hmm.
and I come to you and I said, I'm having no luck. What are you going to do? You said, okay, we're going to a professional photographer. We're getting nice, pretty pictures taken and clean up my profile. And then people start responding to my profile saying, yes, I'd like to go out with you.
Well, so my system works a little better for women, but if you were a woman client, we would actually then message. So we'd go to people's profiles and send them a message saying, hey, would you like to go on a date, basically? And we'd send that 50 times. And then from those 50, we're expecting about 12 to say, yes, I would like to go on a date. And then from the 12, we're just going to pick one that we think is a really good fit, and we're going to go on that date.
Okay, who's picking? The woman client or you?
We'll do it together, but ultimately it's the client's decision. But, I'm going to try to help them as best I can.
This sounds really interesting. So you're almost acting like a filter.
Yeah, I just want to optimize their process because people have no idea what they're doing. And so I just want to get them on better dates and show them a faster way so they don't have to spend hours and hours trying to figure out how to do online dating, where I've already spent, the last 15, 20 years of my life focused on this so I can optimize it for them.
Well, aside from the logistics of, having to click here and there and all of this, how do you screen out the real trolls? I mean, there's got to be some pretty unsavory people that might come through. How do you keep them off?
I think the big thing I don't even think it's that huge, to be honest, but you'll occasionally get some scammers, and I think it's quite obvious. Like their profile will say they went to Harvard Medical School, and then they can barely put a sentence together, and their paragraph structure's all wrong.
Well, I might believe that, but okay, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's fairly obvious who's a scammer. And then, if someone says, hey, what's your checking account, or can you send me some money? All of a sudden you're like, guess that's not real. But that doesn't happen that often, honestly.
Okay. I mean, are people on these sites just primarily looking for sex, or are they looking for long-term relationships?
I did a poll of 2,000 men, and I think it was, I forget the exact stat. It was, I believe it was around 92% of men would prefer love. But then I thought about it some more and kind of went with them. So 92% of men are looking for love. So that's very encouraging for women. But also, if they're dating and it's not love, but they can have sex, that's a decent consolation prize, and a lot of men will settle for that.
Okay, I would agree with that. All right, so what is your success rate I guess, and what would you judge as a success rate? That they get married? I suppose that'd be the ultimate.
That's the ultimate. What I've been tracking is how many folks get into relationship that lasts, over 6 months. But ultimately, we want marriage. Like, I'm not that interested in something ending after 6 months. But just for tracking purposes, I want something that lasts 6 months. And so I've had an 83% success rate of taking a single person, putting them in a relationship. And of the ultimate success of marriage, we've gotten 17 people married and 0 divorces. So we're pretty happy about that.
Oh, that's good. That is good. So are most of your clients primarily women?
Yeah, I'd say probably about 85% or so are women.
What do you find is the biggest problem for women when they're looking to date men? I mean, do most of them complain about one particular thing? Is there one thing that sticks out?
I think it's a bunch of things. I think everyone's really frustrated with the process, and rightfully so. There's just so many options now. And, a lot of the good guys, let's be honest, a lot of the good men and women are in relationship, especially when you're dating in your 60s. The pool's a lot smaller. Like when all of us were, in our 20s dating, we got to meet in person too. We'd go to a bar, we'd go wherever. And now probably in our 60s, we don't want to go to a bar.
Yeah.
And, we meet someone and, maybe they have some unhealed trauma, or they're, just separated or widowed, or just have something that makes them hard to date. And you keep going on that process over and over again. And you're just starting to get discouraged. Like, when am I going to meet, quote unquote, someone normal? And so it can be very frustrating. And we need to have the right mindset of like, well, the next one could be it. And so it's that salesman mindset of Just, I have no shame. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going on these dates until I get what I want. And that's hard. It's a very emotional, tolling process.
Well, I can imagine, especially for people who are doing this in their 60s. I mean, you would have to expect that many people in their 60s would have had a previous family. Like you said, a widow or divorced or something, and they might have grown children and grandchildren that would all come with the package, right? I mean, is that a put-off for women or for other people?
For the most part, it goes pretty well. It's when you're got, a kid at home that's 5, 8, or a younger, that's a little more challenging because then we are really worrying about blending our families and potentially, moving anywhere from 1 to 5 children into the same household. Versus like the 60-year-olds, typically their kids are self-sustaining at that point, so it's a little easier. Does that make sense?
They're not living at home when they're 45 years old, hopefully. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Although that is more of a common thing these days, but that's a different topic. Yeah, I see what you mean. When they're young kids, it's going to be like the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How did you get into this? What made you decide to start doing this service?
I was always interested in this. I think it started with pain at like the age of 16, 15, 16. I, had glasses, I had braces, I was fat. I was made fun of for being fat and playing soccer and just not being good looking, not knowing how to talk to anyone. And all my peers were, getting girlfriends and getting their first kiss. And I'm just like, I want to kiss someone. Like I'm watching all these movies, these rom-coms, and I'm like, I want love. And there was no hope for me. Girls weren't interested in me. So then I had to spend time figuring that out. And fast forward, in my 20s, I eventually got quite good at this because that's like all I spent my time on. And a friend asked me, hey, I'm a 30-year-old virgin. Can you help me get a girlfriend? And I was like, absolutely. So I went over to his house, set up his online profile, and eventually got a girlfriend, got married, all that stuff. And then I repeated that process 7 times. I got 7 people married, and they're like, wow, you should really start a company. So about a decade ago, I did. And so that's how I got started.
So how many clients do you have currently now?
I'm being honest, not that many. About 2 years ago, my business was absolutely booming, Douglas. Like I was, in the first 4 months, I clocked in about 500K revenue.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And I was really helping a lot of people. And then I just got depressed. I just didn't feel deserving of the money and just stopped working. And it took a while. I hurt, got my back hurt, couldn't move. And so then I had to solve that. So long answer is now I probably have, I don't know, maybe like 4 clients. And what my capacity should be is, so that everyone's getting a lot of attention, is probably like, 10 to 12. So I'm way under capacity. Yeah.
Are you doing this alone, or do you have a team, or what?
Yeah, I have a lot of contractors and an assistant and folks that can help me with email marketing, video editors, so forth. So they come in and out when I need them. But yeah, ultimately it's my job to get clients, though.
Okay. Was COVID a problem? I would guess. Yeah.
It's funny. Like in the first month of COVID, I probably lost $100,000 of just clients canceling. They're like, the world's over. I'm not dating. I'm like, understandable, get it. But then like 3 months later, I probably did $200,000. So COVID was huge, actually, because once people were ready to date again, yeah, it was booming for me. It was great.
Can I ask what you charge for and what it comes with? I mean, like, do you have package deals, or how does this work?
Yeah, it's very expensive, but I really try to accommodate people. A high-end program could be as much as $120,000, or a very low-end program could be as low as $3,000 pay in full. But I also have monthly payments that could be anywhere from $800 a month to substantially more. The goal is for me to figure out how to make it affordable for people, or how to solve their big problem of I want to fall in love, but also make it budget friendly for folks that need it. And then for other folks that they're like, this is no problem, that's okay too.
Well, okay. You said the high end was $120,000. That's a lot of money for most people. What would you do for that?
Yeah, that's the total white glove experience. That's with two coaches. So Helena Hart. So I've had an 83% success rate, and I realized I didn't have the skill set of really helping people with their mindset and really just making them totally irresistible and just showing up as the best version of themselves. So I brought Helena on, and I've known her for, almost a decade, I think. I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, we really wanted to combine. And ever since people hired both of us, thus far, we've had a 100% success rate at getting people into partnership. So what that gets is 6 months with both of us, 24 sessions, 12 with me, 12 with Helena, me walking them through a process, her making sure they have the right mindset. And you meet with me week 1, Helena week 2, me week 3, and it just keeps flip-flopping. And we suspect most of the time we're going to get people into partnership using my system in about 3 to 4 months. And then, month 5 and 6 is just making sure they've got the conflict resolution, the communication skills, and everything they need to just continue to enhance the relationship. And then we can sail them off into the sunset at 6 months. And we don't abandon them. If they want to join group coaching at that point, they can. Or if they're feeling all set, then they, can go on their way.
How important is physical appearance?
In terms of what?
Well, I mean, do you need to be, 20-year-old, beautiful, buff, all of that? Or do you work, you have to work with what you get, right? I mean, if somebody comes in who's like greatly overweight, are you going to send them to the gym as one of your coaching advices?
Probably not. I believe there's a lid for every pot. And, if someone's very overweight, which I get those clients all the time, there's probably a guy or a counterpart that's also overweight and is very attracted to them. So we just have to go find the person that's into who they are.
You're reminding me of a sort of a funny skit. I don't know if you've seen it on Saturday Night Live, or it used to be, old one called Lowered Expectations. And do you get people that come in who maybe are not the 20-year-old buff, beautiful person who is looking for that and hasn't found it? And do you have to sort of knock them down to reality?
I'll be honest with them. I'm always honest. Like, this is going to be really hard. I will tell them. And then, I think the data talks. I had a guy who was, I want to say 55, and he still wanted to have children. So we're going after, I think, sub 35, under 35-year-old women. And, he looked 55. He wasn't, a 55 that looked 35. And we sent, and I'm like, listen, let's give it a go. It's going to be really freaking hard. You're not, so marketable. Why wouldn't a 35-year-old woman date a 35-year-old man? She can. So I don't know how we're going to market this. This is going to be difficult. So we tried, and I would send 100 messages, 200, 500, 1,000, and we weren't getting dates. So at some point, I'm like, listen, normally when I send 50, we get 12 options. I've sent 1,000 and maybe 3 responses. So this isn't working. Do you want to try something else? I let the data do the talking, and hopefully they, realize what's possible for them.
Did he get the message at that point?
It's funny. He's the only one who he did a little bit. We finally kind of changed it, but he was dead set that he wanted children. So he's one of the few that, stuck to his guns versus I can't think of any other client that really stuck to his guns like he did.
Well, it's interesting. You don't have a book you're promoting, do you? Because normally we get authors on. Did you write a book?
I am. Of course, yeah. I wrote a book. It's called Successful Dating for Women Over 50, Your Roadmap to Love, by me, Mike Goldstein, and Joe Nelson.
Okay, how long has the book been out?
It's pretty new. What's it been out? Since February 14th, so what's that, 4 months from
Couple
right
of
now?
Months, yeah. And the book basically covers what we've been talking about in your business? And
it's a cool book. It walks you through the process of the 50-12-1, and then also talks about people's experiences of women implementing it and what happened and how it felt and their emotions that they had pre and post doing this and results and their story, which I think is the most important part, is just hearing that you're not alone. This person's widowed, this person's divorced, this person, had a man that abused her. all these things happened, and that it's possible. Like, I had a woman with chronic laryngitis. I had a really overweight 60-year-old. I had an 80-year-old. Like, it's all possible. Your situation's not as unique as you think it is, but we will find a man that's specific to you that works for you.
Are your clientele strictly heterosexual, or do you do LGB or?
Yeah, I work with everyone. More than happy. In my very early days, I took a woman who was trying to discover if she was a lesbian, and we went to a lesbian bar in New York City and had her meet women. So yeah, just whatever we got to do to make people happy and discover their most authentic selves, I'm all for.
What did she decide? Was she a lesbian or not?
I think so. At least definitely bisexual.
Okay. All right.
At least.
Okay, Mike. Well, listen, we got to wind this down. Thanks so much. This was interesting. I think I learned something today. You want to give out your website?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. It's easydatingcoach.com, and to make it confusing, it's spelled easy with the letter E and the letter Z. So easydatingcoach.com.
Is there information about your book on there as well?
It's a good question. There
should be.
Probably there isn't. I should probably fix that.
Okay. Well, we'll put that link in the show notes, and then if people want to get your book, they can send you contact or something, right?
Absolutely. And on my website, I have a lot of free stuff you can opt into, like a lot of free gifts, and then you can get on my email list, and I'll send you a ton of free advice. I've got like videos from social media. I've got a few 100,000 followers, so I make a lot of free content to try to help people. Would love people to watch and learn if you'd like.
Well, Mike, again, thanks for coming on the show. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck with your coaching and with everything else you're doing.
Thank you for having me, Douglas, and great questions, really great questions.